Story number one comes from the New York Giants. Sad day for the Giants. I mean, really rough one. Not only do they lose to the rival Eagles 38-20, but in the process, they lose Cam Scatterboo to a dislocated ankle, has to undergo surgery that night in Philly, almost certainly done for the season. It's just really tough because, as we talked about last week, the Giants had some serious hope, like some serious hits coming out of this rookie class. Dart, Scatterboo, Abdul Carter, and then they lose Malik Neighbors to the injury. And now Cam Scatterboo is done. So a lot of the air taken out of whatever momentum the Giants had going here. Evan, what do you think of the Scatterboo injury and any other Giants thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the Giants have, three really young, exciting players in Malik Neighbors, Cam Scatterboo, and Jackson Dart, and we really never got to see them play together this season. But yeah, I mean, this obviously moves a lot onto Tyrone Tracy's plate, and he becomes a guy that could make a difference in the second half of the season with his all-purpose ability. Of course, he played a bunch of receiver in college, and he's made some big plays. I mean, he's been a bench player, since Cam Scatterboo took over the starting job. But I mean, he's made some big plays off the bench. He has big play ability.
So they do have Tyrone Tracy and they have Devin Singletary. So it's not like dire for the Giants because I think those guys are both NFL players. I was actually impressed with what Tyrone Tracy was able to do last season. It was a horrible situation for the Giants last year. Tyrone Tracy still averaged 4.4 yards per carry on 192 carries. Former wide receiver also caught 38 balls. I mean, Tyrone Tracy is going to be a factor in fantasy. Would you be blowing, let's say Tyrone Tracy was on waivers, Evan, would you be blowing all your money here on Tyrone Tracy to have him for the rest of the season?
I'd be going hard after Tyrone Tracy. There's no question. Because of that all-purpose ability, he should be able to stay in the game on all downs and play extensively even when the Giants fall behind. And I'm with you. I mean, Devin Singletary is a guy that Brian Daboll trusts. Of course, they were together in Buffalo, and he's going to be, I think that it'll be like a 65-35 sort of situation in favor of Tyrone Tracy going forward.
Other note from this game, it was good to see Darius Slayton back and healthy. He only had 2 catches for 26 yards, but he did lead the team in targets with a 21% share, and he should have had a long TD in this game. It got called back on a really weak offensive pass interference call, but, I do think Slayton can have some big games. Like, they'll be random, but no Malik Neighbors. They do have Jackson Dart in there. They're going to be behind in plenty of games, so I do think Darius Slayton for like deep leaguers is at least worth keeping an eye on here as he looks healthy. Story number 2 is the Denver Broncos. So Broncos get the amazing matchup home against the Cowboys defense in good weather, and they execute. Broncos put up 44 points, rip off 7.5 yards per play. Bo Nix 4 touchdowns, including 2 to the shower narrative, Evan. The shower narrative is alive and well. Bo Nix to Troy Franklin. And Troy Franklin was helped a little bit in this game by a Marvin Mims late concussion. And Marvin Mims was banged up a little bit in this game. But still, even before that, Troy Franklin was playing well ahead of Marvin Mims. So, Evan, what do you think of the Troy Franklin breakout and any other Broncos thoughts?
I mean, I think that Troy Franklin has fairly clearly separated himself from the rest of the Broncos sort of rotating numbers 2 through 4 receiver situation. Cortland Sutton is at the top. And then it's been sort of like a back and forth week to week between Troy Franklin, Pat Bryant, and Marvin Mims. But in terms of playing time, it's pretty much always been Troy Franklin. And we saw his explosive ability come to life in this game. Now, whenever a team plays Dallas, like, you have to adjust for contextual factors. I mean, this is, we talk about, this team could have the worst defense in the league. This team could have the worst defense in the league. Dallas is the worst defense in the league.
Worse than the Bengals. You think worse than the Bengals?
That they would be their top competition. But I would say that I think that Dallas is actually worse. And so, but you have to adjust always for that. But yeah, Troy Franklin is the number 2 receiver on the Broncos, and in good matchups, he's very, very much usable, as he was here against the worst defense in the league.
I mean, one of his touchdowns came on like a tipped play that, was kind of a bit fluky there, but the usage again was good. 26 routes for Troy Franklin on 30 Bo Nix dropbacks. Again, Marvin Mims only ran 11 routes in this game. He was banged up with 5 minutes left. He sustained the concussion, did Marvin Mims. He is in the protocol. But, we've seen Franklin at 73% of the routes last week, the week before, 69%. He's also had games in weeks 2 and 3 where he was up at like 90%. So it's not, whenever we have Sean Payton involved, I hesitate to ever say, oh, this is it. He's going to start running 90% of the routes all the time now. But I do think Troy Franklin has earned it, and Marvin Mims has been banged up, as in the protocol now. Other thing here, Evan, was RJ Harvey. He has scored 3 touchdowns on 8 touches. Last week, he scored a touchdown on 5 touches. But still, it's just the role is so strange because it's not like the passing down. It's not the 2-minute stuff, but they're kind of using him as a passing back, like behind Dobbins on earlier downs. Running back snaps in this game were Dobbins 33, RJ Harvey 17, Tyler Bidet, 11. The RJ Harvey people are excited, but I don't really think the role has changed that much. Do you think RJ Harvey can creep on J.K. Dobbins? He's certainly producing in a big way right now.
The thing is that J.K. Dobbins also had an awesome game.
Yeah.
And it was it kind of felt to me like a situation where, all right, Sean Payton goes, we can do whatever we want against this defense. Let's use this as an opportunity to get our sort of struggling rookie more touches than usual. RJ Harvey capitalizes. Now, in the next game, they go to Houston, I believe, which is going to be a much tougher matchup where, there's players off the edge and Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson that, the Broncos have to guard against. Mm-hmm. And they're probably going to use their guys that they know can pass protect more in a game like that. I just think it's, at the end of the day, like it's very, very week to week.
Yeah.
With a lot of the personnel usage in Denver, and J.K. Dobbins is the guy that they trust, and R.J. Harvey is a guy that they know has a lot of potential, but they don't necessarily trust, except for in very comfortable settings like a home game against the worst defense in the league.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair and right. Last thing on the Broncos, Evan, reigning defensive player of the year, Patrick Surtain, sustained a pectoral injury here. He's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. They still have a very talented defense. They still have one of the best pass rushes. They still have other guys that can play in the secondary, but this is clearly a very big loss. How much do you think this affects on the fantasy side, wide receivers going up against the Broncos?
Yeah, this is a good question. Patrick Surtain, we talk about it usually on Sunday mornings. There's maybe 4 to 5 cornerbacks that really move the needle when it comes to making fantasy football decisions or fantasy football projections. Patrick Surtain is at the top of that list. However, you look at the rest of the Denver defense. I mean, they've got maybe the best defensive front in the NFL. That's not going to change. Riley Moss, their number 2 corner, has been having an excellent season. He's got one of the best passer ratings allowed in the NFL. They used the 20th overall pick on Jahdae Barron, who won the Thorpe Award in college last year, and he has been barely playing behind Jaquan McMillan in the slot. So, the Broncos are freaking loaded. They can just drop in Jahdae Barron, the 20th overall pick in the draft, to kind of maybe rotate with Jaquan McMillan playing inside and outside. Jahdae Barron did play a good amount. People thought of him as a slot corner coming out, and I think that's what he's mostly going to play in the NFL. But he did play a lot outside at Texas. So, again, the Broncos are loaded. I don't think it really – it matters, losing Patrick Surtain, but for our purposes, it's still a tough matchup going up against Denver.
Okay. Let's go to story number 3, the New Orleans Saints. So the dam finally broke on Spencer Rattler over the last 2 weeks. I thought he was actually reasonable, Rattler, for the first 6 games, but the last 2 weeks, my God. So what we've been calling for on here, apparently the Saints were listening, because at halftime of this game against the Bucs, they're only down 7-3, but at halftime they bench Rattler, go to Tyler Shuck. Shuck comes in, goes 17 of 30. And yes, he got off 30 pass attempts in one half, 128 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception, takes 2 sacks. And then on Tuesday, Saints announced that Tyler Shuck is their starting quarterback. Evan, your reaction to the Saints making a move here at the QB position to Mr. Shuck?
Well, I did not have a particularly good week 8. I was wrong about a lot of things, and one of those was that I thought that Spencer Rattler was going to play well at home against Tampa Bay. and he did not. He winds up getting benched, as you mentioned. Tyler Shuck, he was terrible in training camp. I mean, I think that the Saints, when they drafted him, they had designs on him being the week 1 starter.
Yes.
He did not earn that. He got outplayed by Spencer Rattler. He can throw the ball. I mean, he's got a good arm, but that's not enough in the NFL. Spencer Rattler is 1-13 as a starter in the NFL, though, and I understand that QB wins, that hashtag, but at the end of the day, he's 1-13. The Saints drafted him in the 5th round. They drafted Tyler Shuck in the 2nd round.
Yeah.
And the leash just was never going to be particularly long for Spencer Rattler. It's obviously a rebuilding year in New Orleans. We're hearing a ton of trade rumors. You mentioned, you were talking about before the show that you think that they might trade Rashid Shaheed. I don't think that would surprise anybody. There's even trade rumors surrounding Chris Olave. So it's no surprise that, we're getting Tyler Shuck at this stage. I don't think that he's going to help anybody in the offense going forward, though.
Well, my point always, as we've talked about this, has been you use the number 40 overall pick on a 26-year-old quarterback. You're rebuilding. Let's see what he's got, man. Let's put him out there. Let's see what he can do. And I don't think it's an upgrade over Spencer Rattler, but I don't think it's going to be worse either. And I have a ton of Chris Olave. And by the way, Chris Olave is 2nd in the NFL in targets this season. That kind of volume available in the 5th, 6th, 7th round of fantasy drafts is just outrageous. I don't think that's going to change. Again, he got off 20 pass attempts in the second half against the Bucs. Kellen Moore has them playing so fast. And then on top of that, they're always losing. So from that perspective,
and it could even go up if they trade Rashid Shaheed.
Exactly. And so, I do not think they're going to trade Chris Olave. I think they're more likely to extend Olave than trade him. But I still think that the Tyler Shuck thing is a equal move from Spencer Rattler. But maybe we can see him play a little bit better. I'm interested to see. And by the way, Schefter was on the McAfee show this morning, Tuesday morning, and he was saying that Shaheed is one of the players most likely to be traded before the November 4th deadline. I think the Bills make the most sense for Rashid Shaheed. They do have Gabe Davis on their practice squad. Clearly, they don't think Gabe Davis can really play. Shaheed can play that role, and he's actually good. If you watch this game, Shaheed could have had a huge game against the Bucs. He was wide open on a double move. Shuck missed him in the second half. But had a ton of chances.
Pittsburgh has also been mentioned as a potential destination.
Pittsburgh, New England, I think would make sense. Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh's been talking about trying to get.
New England would make a ton of sense.
Yeah. Last note on the Saints. Kamara, again, struggled and got banged up here, and he's always just kind of going down, coming out. He played 37 snaps. Devin Neal played 33. Now, plenty of that was in garbage time for Devin Neal, but good to see that the Saints at least trust Devin Neal enough to get him out there for 33 snaps. And I don't know, man, Kamara feels like he's on his last legs. Devin Neal is one injury away from at least being a starting running back at this point. Let's go to the story 4. We've killed them so much on here. I figure we better highlight them when they actually win. The New York Jets have won a football game. Yes, it came against the Bengals and the Bengals defense. Coming into week 8, we had the Bengals as the 3rd best matchup for quarterbacks in fantasy, the best possible matchup for running backs, and the best possible matchup for tight ends. But I would be lying if I said I thought this Jets team was capable of scoring 39 points, especially without Garrett Wilson on the field. So, Evan, we got to give a shout out to the Jets. They won a game. What do you think of Justin Fields, Breece Hall, and the Jets getting the win?
Yeah, apparently before the game, Breece Hall went to the Jets coaches and was like, you got to give me the ball. I need the ball 25 times in this game if we're going to win. I think he only wound up getting 21, but he certainly capitalized on his opportunities. 18 for 133, 2 touchdowns, 7.4 yards per carry. Isaiah Davis also had a really, really nice game. But, yeah, the Jets were able to move the ball at will and scored touchdowns against, the second worst defense in the NFL or the worst defense or whatever.
Yeah.
Cincinnati. Without Garrett Wilson, as you mentioned, also without Josh Reynolds and Mason Taylor, came into this game looking like he was banged up. He wound up going 5 for 34 and a touchdown on 8 targets.
Do you think that Justin Fields has earned this starting job? Because I felt like if Tyrod Taylor was healthy to start against the Bengals, I thought it was going to be Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor ends up getting ruled out. They go to Fields. He wins. Jets have a bye now. Any lean on who you think they start when they come out of their bye?
I think it's definitely Justin Fields. Just getting that first win of the season, that should be enough. The Jets were 0-7. You know, they were like, I mean, they could have went 0-17 without Justin Fields at least performing competently against the Bengals. So that's just such a monkey off the back of the Jets that I think they got to go with Justin Fields. This bye will allow him to hopefully get fully over whatever was ailing him, you know, because we talked about that he was dealing with some sort of a major contusion that he suffered in week 4 against the Dolphins, I believe. And maybe that was one of the reasons that they were not using him as much on designed runs. I would think Josh Reynolds will be back. Garrett Wilson is expected to be back.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't think that they're going to go on any kind of relevant run after the bye. But, I mean, it was like legit in play. Like, is Aaron Glenn going to be one and done?
Yeah.
And they finally got this win. I think that they definitely go to Justin Fields, the guy that they're paying money, you know, isn't 38 or whatever like Tyrod Taylor is.
When they come out of their bye, the Jets have to play the Browns, the Patriots, and then the Ravens, you know? And like you see on Justin Fields, he can have these really nice games, these really big spike games in fantasy, and then he can look like the worst quarterback in the history of the NFL. Obviously, these games, Browns, Patriots, Ravens, are not games I think Fields will perform well, but, you know, we'll see. So, I mean, I wouldn't rule him getting benched again at some point. Evan did mention the Isaiah Davis stuff. He played really well, and snaps were only Brees 40, Isaiah Davis 33. Isaiah Davis racked up 12 touches, over 100 yards, total yards. So, yeah, definitely something to watch there. But Isaiah Davis should be owned in deeper leagues as a one injury away guy here as well. Fifth story of the week is the Baltimore Ravens. Oh, man, what a mess. You know, in the wake of all of the match fixing, Terry Rozier and the Chauncey Billups, then we get people saying that, oh, you see, the Ravens manipulated the injury report because people were gambling. You know, I just think that, like, they're just kind of incompetent and they don't really know. They said it was a mistake. I don't know. Whatever it was, Lamar was supposed to start. They said he was full on Friday. They backtracked that, downgrade him to limited on Friday, rule him out on Saturday. Tyler Huntley ends up starting. And Tyler Huntley, I actually thought played a reasonable game.
I thought he played great. Yeah, you were right about, you nailed that, dude.
Yeah, he wasn't great for fantasy. Like, he had 16 points, which was fine. He was 4,300 on DraftKings, which was like really, really cheap. He had like 16 points, you know, but in real football, I thought he played a pretty good game here. Now, Lamar is fully expected to be back on Thursday, but Evan, thoughts on the entire Lamar mess and any other Ravens thoughts heading into their Thursday night game against the Dolphins?
Oh, I think that, you know, certain publications are just preying on this thing to try to generate clicks. I think that this was an honest mistake by the Ravens. I don't think that there was anything shady going on. And I mean, I don't care. I mean, in Chicago, you know, they're almost sort of leaning into it to suggest that, like, there was something, you know, fishy going on, and maybe this gave, you know, the Ravens some sort of a competitive advantage. At the end of the day, Caleb Williams played terrible. The Bears didn't generate turnovers at the rate that they were unsustainably doing so leading into this game. The Bears defense was without, you know, their top 3 cornerbacks, and, you know, I mean, it was like a pretty easy win for the Ravens, who wound up winning by 14 points. And Tyler Huntley was very, very efficient, as he should have been in that situation. His offensive line was healthy. I think he was pressured like 3 times the entire game. Derrick Henry passed Walter Payton, kind of ironic because they were playing the Bears, passed Walter Payton for the 5th most rushing touchdowns of all time. And he only needs 9 more to catch Adrian Peterson for 4th, and 12 to catch Marcus Allen for 3rd all time. Derrick Henry is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, or at least he deserves to be. But now the Ravens play on Thursday night, and I think Lamar Jackson at this point is fully expected to start. He's from Miami. This game means a lot to him. I'm sure he'll have a ton of family in the stands. But this was a huge win for the Ravens in real life, because they did it without Tyler Huntley, I'm sorry, they did it without Lamar Jackson. They allowed him to get a little bit of rest, and now they have one of the easiest schedules. That was a game that, they could have easily lost. I mean, the Bears were 4-2 going into it. Again, Lamar Jackson, no Lamar Jackson. They had to start Tyler Huntley. It was a huge, huge win. I saw you posted that now the Ravens are again the favorite to win the AFC North. Huge win.
I mean, they're 2-5 and the favorite to win the AFC North. It says a lot about the division, but also about the schedule that the Ravens have coming up. And I know we've said this before. I still think Zay Flowers remains a good buy low. I thought going into last week, Derrick Henry was a good buy low and still is if you think you can get him. By the way, Zay Flowers in this game, Tyler Huntley does not traditionally throw to wide receivers at a high rate. Zay Flowers, though, got a 41% target share from Tyler Huntley here. One other note on usage. Isaiah Likely, 15 routes. Mark Andrews, 14 routes on 25 dropbacks. This is the second straight game that Likely has ran more routes than Mark Andrews. So just wanted to put that out there. But yeah, this schedule, I mean, they have to play the Dolphins, the Vikings, the Jets, the Bengals twice, the Steelers twice. I mean, really, really strong schedule for Lamar, Zay, Derrick Henry to really start crushing here down the stretch if Lamar can sustain health on that hamstring. The NBA season is underway. We cover it with the same intensity we cover the NFL. Dink, Gallagher, and the team have 3 products that run during NBA season at ETR. First, in season, this is aimed at people playing DFS. Second, full stat detail. That is access to what we project for every category, every player, every game. And lastly, official prop sub. Please read the FAQ on this. It is not for casual betting. Official release lines will move very, very quickly. Check out more details on all NBA products at establishtherun.com. All right, let's go to the NFC. We'll go in alphabetical order here and start with the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals were on a bye. They will face the Cowboys on Monday night. The big question is Kyler Murray. How healthy is he? How will he play on Monday night? We talked last week about the impact Jacoby Brissett has had on this past game and has had on Trey McBride and even Marvin Harrison's outlook. I'm worried that if Kyler comes back and underperforms against Dallas, the calls for Jacoby Brissett are going to get way louder. Evan, what do you think about Kyler? Any other Cardinals thoughts as they come out of their bye?
We just so consistently see quarterbacks and offenses perform at their absolute peak when they play Dallas that this is like the ultimate perfect situation to drop Kyler Murray right back in. Marvin Harrison Jr. also will be healthy. And yeah, I mean, we know for sure that they're going back to Kyler, right? Or we think that for sure?
They said that when Kyler is healthy, they will go back to him. Now, There's all this like soft benching stuff going on out here. We'll get to the J.J. McCarthy, Carson Wentz stuff in a second. Some people out there think that Kyler has been soft benched. In other words, they'll just keep saying, oh, he's not 100%. He's not 100%. I think they're going to go back to Kyler right away as soon as he gets cleared. But yeah.
Yeah, I guess that'll be something that we have to monitor this week. But I fully expect them to go back to Kyler.
It's just really hard after you paid him 200 and whatever million to not go back to him once he's cleared. By the way, this game has a total of 54.5 on Monday night. Dallas 2.5, 54.5 in the new Coors Field of the NFL, Jerry World. Last note on Arizona, the running back stuff. Made headlines yesterday, Monday, that Michael Carter got cut. That was just a procedural move. They're expected to re-sign Michael Carter. It just shows you like what the NFL thinks of him. You know, they kept Bam Knight. They cut Michael Carter. They subject him to waivers. No one wants Michael Carter. They're like, oh, we'll just re-sign him. And not only will they say they'll re-sign him, they'll tell people like, we're gonna re-sign him, and no one cares. You know, so I do think they prefer Bam Knight to Michael Carter now. Trey Benson is on IR for one more game. I'm hopeful that he is back after that, but we shall see. Falcons. Oh man, this was bad, Evan. I know they didn't have Michael Penix. I know they did not have Drake London on the late scratch, but man, this was a horrific Falcons performance. I did not think that the running game and the defense could underperform this badly against the Dolphins here at home. I know this cost a ton of people in Survivor as well. Evan, what happened to the Falcons in this 34-10 loss to the Dolphins?
Yeah, total dud. I mean, And the Falcons defense, which they have been able to lean on pretty well. By the way, they were missing 3 starters on defense. I mean, they were really, really banged up without their quarterback, their alpha receiver, and 3 starters on defense. And the Dolphins were able to, take advantage and hit some explosive plays, particularly in the passing game. And I mean, the Falcons, how many plays did they even run? They ran 48, 49 plays. I mean, they did not have the ball, and they did not run the ball successfully. It was a huge, huge dud for a team, the Falcons, who came in. I mean, they had a chance to, move to a winning record. They're 3-4 now.
Yeah.
So that was a huge, huge loss at home to one of the worst teams in the league.
I was wrong. I thought that Kirk Cousins could do at least as well as Michael Penix, but that was on the assumption that all this time off had rejuvenated Kirk Cousins' arm. I don't know, man. At this point, they're just got to be desperate to get Michael Penix back under center. They're calling Michael Penix day to day with that bone bruise in his foot. I think he'll be back, but I don't think that it is a lock. I mean, the more surprising thing, though, than that was this Bijan Robinson performance. I did not think that this was in the range of outcomes. 9 carries against the Dolphins for 25 yards and 3 catches for 23. And to make matters worse, they were getting blown out so bad. Tyler Algier was actually in the game late, and he gets the garbage time touchdown. So I'll chalk it up as a fluke, weird thing. But man, that was one of the most surprising results I've seen in a long time. Bijan just totally face planting there. And then Darnell Mooney. This was the spot of all spots. Drake London can't play. You're playing the Dolphins. You're in a dome. You run 30 routes on 32 dropbacks, and Darnell Mooney catches 1 ball for 11 yards on 4 targets. He did draw a pass interference penalty, but from what I could tell, he just wasn't open that much. And obviously, Kirk Cousins is toast. So it was frustrating on Mooney. I have him in a couple season-long spots. If he can't hit here, I'm tempted to just drop him. So I don't know if you have any take on what's going on with the Moondog, Evan, or any other Falcons thoughts before we move on.
There has been just no consistency to the Falcons really as a team almost for the entire year. Remember, they lost 30-0 to the Panthers. I mean, this is another crazy result. I think that their quarterback play has been really, really up and down all year, whether it be Penix or Cousins in this game. Obviously, Cousins was down in this game. But, I mean, it has been a very unpredictable team, Atlanta. Sometimes you'll think, oh, man, they're really impressive. Sometimes they lose to some of the worst teams in the league, as we saw here Sunday.
Drake London, they're calling him day-to-day, play the Patriots on Sunday. Let's go to the Panthers. Panthers were forced to start Andy Dalton here in this game, and they get absolutely steamrolled by the Bills, 40-9 at home. There were some signs that Andy Dalton is better for Ted McMillan than Bryce Young. Ted McMillan here, 7.99-0 on a 42% target share from Dalton. But that doesn't really matter. I think Bryce is expected back for week 9. They said Bryce is probably going to practice on Wednesday. So it looks good for Bryce coming back here this week. But what do you think of the Panthers laying an egg here against the Bills on Sunday, Evan?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned a nice game for Ted McMillan. Andy Dalton comes in and just lends some stability, I guess, to the passing game. But again, the Panthers, they're not a passing team, and they know that. I mean, they are down big in this game to Buffalo, and they were still running the ball. They wound up losing 40-9, and Andy Dalton only had 24 pass attempts. He got sacked 7 times on 31 dropbacks. It seems pretty clear to me, based on Dave Canales' post-game comments, that the Panthers are going to go back to Rico Dowdle as their main back. And we saw that Xavier Legette, his big game in week 8 was a fluke, which was fairly predictable.
Yeah, so what Evan is referring to on the running back stuff is not some report. It's not some speculation. Dave Canales actually talked about this, and we don't often get coaches explicitly talking about player usage in the media. And I actually don't think he has to. Why? Just be oh, we're going to go with the hot hand, and then Rico has the hot hand. But that's not what he chose to do. What he said was on Monday, he was at the press conference, and Joe Person tweeted this. Joe Person has covered the Panthers forever. He said, seems pretty clear Dave Canales is going to give Rico Dowdle the lion's share of carries. While he understands the dynamic of reducing the role of a popular player like Chuba Hubbard, Canales says the heart of it is winning games and putting our best foot forward, quote unquote. So they're going to ditch this series by series stuff and lean much more into Rico Dowdle here. And this is a team that can run the ball well. And as Evan said, really wants to run the ball hard and run a lot and run it well. So yeah, Rico ahead of Chuba, it's going to be the case. Pretty confident in that here going forward, as Evan said.
I also think my guess is that the Panthers are going to start Andy Dalton another game.
Oh, really? See,
yeah,
go ahead.
Because Bryce Young dealing with this, I think it's a high ankle sprain. I don't know. That term gets thrown around a little loosely these days.
Yeah.
But it was enough to cost him one game. And now going to Green Bay, I don't know. I don't know if that's the best situation to put your little quarterback with a high ankle sprain into going up against freaking Micah Parsons at Lambeau Field. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, they said he's probably going to practice Wednesday, so that gave me the impression that they expect him to play.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
That's totally fair. I mean, that's usually the sign of a guy who's going to go back into the lineup. It's going to be tough, though. I mean, the Panthers, they have a good offensive line. It's much better run blocking than it is pass protecting, I think. And just throwing out there, Bryce Young is not like a big-time scrambler, although he can have nice scrambles, but he definitely needs his mobility. He's so freaking little.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's just so small, man. He's so small.
A small note to wrap here on the Panthers for the Cokeheads out there. Jalen Coker, 26 routes. That was his most playing time of the season since he's come back from injury. 32 routes for Leggett, 34 for Teteroa McMillan. Let's go to the Chicago Bears. So Bears went to Baltimore and underperformed against the Lamar Jackson-less Ravens, lose 30-16. Was not a great performance for the Bears. The bright spot for me was Rome Odunze back and balling again after a couple down games. Bears did get 6.0 yards per play. A lot of penalties, though. Bad Caleb Williams pick. They were never really in it. Ravens played a really clean game. Evan, what do you think of Bears on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, the Bears were unable to sustain the dominant rushing attack that they had fielded in their previous two games after their Week 5 bye. Caleb is not played well for an extended stretch, and in good matchups too. I don't know if we can call the Ravens a good matchup at this point, just because they were missing so many guys on defense and they got them back. But I don't think that was the problem for Caleb Williams. I think that he's struggling to execute the offense. So the Bears came out and they had a really nice early drive. It was like what we were seeing early in the season with the Ben Johnson scripted plays. Those work, and then kind of everything goes to crap after that. And that was kind of the case here. And I think that Ben Johnson is getting frustrated with Caleb. I mean, he made some really bad plays. Just his accuracy is a big issue. He was missing throws all game long, and it doesn't seem like the arrow was pointing up. If anything, it seems like the arrow was pointing down. Now, they play the Bengals next week. So this will be, this will be the debate of the week. Can the Bears get it back going? I think they probably will, because, everyone gets it going against Cincinnati. But the fact of the matter right now is that Caleb Williams has not played well in several weeks, and the running game has been, I don't know, the answer might be the running game, to go back to DeAndre Swift in fantasy against Cincinnati.
That game has a total of 52.5, and the Bears are actually favored on the road by 2.5. So big team total for the Bears here coming in Week 9. A couple other small notes on the Bears. I was tracking the Colston Loveland usage with Cole Kmet out for this game. Colston Loveland ran 32 routes on 41 Caleb dropbacks, but only caught 3 balls for 38 yards on a 13% target share, which is not great. Is Colston Loveland good? I'm not going to say after this game we know or we don't. I just think we still don't know. And we know Tyler Warren is good for sure as we continue to track that debate. Luther Burden sustained a concussion in this game as well, but, Zacchaeus continued to play ahead of him anyways. And last note, Kyle Monangai, man, way ahead of Roshan now. I believe Roshan was a healthy scratch for this game, and Monangai was getting like first half reps for the Bears here also. So Monangai clearly the one injury away running back there for the Bears.
I'm just going to propose a theoretical situation. So let's say that Caleb does not get it going against Cincinnati this week, that he continues to play poorly, misses a bunch of throws, makes untimely errors. Ben Johnson's pissed at him. At what point do the Bears say, can Tyson Bagent, who they did give an extension to before the season, can he be a poor man's Jared Goff and go in and execute the offense and have some semblance of success beyond the scripted plays? Because the Bengals or the Bears at this point, they theoretically have a pretty good supporting cast. Rome Odunze, I think, is measured up for the most part to be a true number one receiver. They've got, they're paying a bunch of money to DJ Moore. They used the number 9 pick on Colston Loveland. Their offensive line has been largely steady. They've got a running game that has been dominant at times. There are much worse supporting casts in the NFL right now than what Caleb Williams has. At what point do they sit him down and see what Tyson Bagent can do? We're not there yet. And I do think that the Bears will get it going against the Bengals. But what if they do not?
This is a good call for your favorite pastime, Evan, Chicago Sports Radio. You should call with this exact take and see what they think. Listen, man, I think one of the reasons Ben Johnson wanted to take the job is because he saw something in Caleb Williams. If they go to 4-4, they lose to the Bengals, they go to 4-4. I don't think that's panic time yet, but I hear what you're saying. He has underperformed, especially outside of scripted plays, for sure. Let's go to the Cowboys. Cowboys go to Denver and put in one of their worst offensive performances of the season. Not a surprise considering the strength of the Broncos defense, but just 5.0 yards per play here for the Cowboys. Dak is held under 200 yards, doesn't throw a touchdown. So, Evan, I know you thought there was some chance the Cowboys could have a really good offensive performance here. They did not. Thoughts on Cowboys play in Denver?
Yeah, this was another thing I got badly wrong. I thought that the Cowboys could go to Denver and be more than a little bit competitive, and they were not. They just got dominated. I don't even know what else there is to say. The Broncos are clearly a better team, and Dak Prescott was out at some point in the third quarter, and, nobody really measured up. You got away with Javonte Williams with 2 touchdowns, but that was pretty much about it. Everybody else was disappointing. Jake Ferguson didn't even have a catch. The NFL's reception leader among tight ends didn't even have a catch. So
yeah,
just got outclassed. The Cowboys got outclassed.
We talked about, would they move CeeDee into the slot exclusively to stay away from Patrick Surtain? They did not really. CeeDee was 38 snaps out wide, 15 in the slot. Pickens, 51 snaps out wide, 8 in the slot. It was Kevontae Turpin, 25 in the slot and only 5 out wide. So they did not really make an effort to get CeeDee Lamb off Patrick Surtain. CeeDee Lamb still had really good opportunity. I still love having all these Dallas guys. Just, when you go to Denver, it's going to be tough. Season high 8 carries here for Jaden Blue. He did get a series to himself in the first half, ended up with 5 opportunities on that drive. Didn't have anywhere to run, but at least they're using him in the first half of these games with Miles Sanders out for the season. Let's go to the Lions. Lions were on a bye. They will come out of it to host the Vikings. This is a dome game, obviously, for the Lions. Then they have 2 outdoor games, Washington and Philly. After that, the Lions will not play outdoors again until week 18. So 6 straight dome games to end the fantasy season. I think that's exciting. Also on the Lions, shout out to Coach Speak Index, who tweeted out a video of Dan Campbell, was asked, during the bye, is there any players that you think you need to get going, or you saw something from that you want to get going more? He said, I'm not going to say any names, but the insinuation was that it's going to be Jameson Williams. I know we've said that before a bunch this season, but at least Dan Campbell seems to have it on his mind as well. So, Evan, any more thoughts on Lions here as they come out of their bye?
I really didn't have any notes on them because we talked about them last week, and I don't really have anything to add to that. But I'll just say that they are really, really healthy right now. And obviously you're coming off a bye, you tend to be healthier than when you're not coming off a bye, but they don't have anybody dealing with injuries. And that's a really good sign. They played really good offense in the first half of the season, and they're set to finish fast, as you mentioned, complemented by the fact that they play indoors like almost the rest of the way.
Yeah, 2 straight games outside and then 6 straight dome games. Those 6 dome games to end the fantasy season are Giants, Packers, Cowboys, Rams, Steelers, Vikings. So, yeah, I like buying on Lions guys for sure. Packers. Jordan Love and the Packers went to Pittsburgh Sunday night to face old friend Aaron Rodgers. Jordan Love was cooking, man. 29 of 37 for 360 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Steelers had no answer for Tyler Kraft, who's like, I tweeted about this today, but Tyler Kraft's fantasy opportunity has not been great. You know, like where he's getting targets, how many targets he's getting, it hasn't been great. But he outperforms his opportunity at such a high level. He's still someone that I love having on my fantasy team. Obviously, Evan, what'd you think of Jordan Love in the Packers game here against the Steelers?
Well, Jordan Love can be very frustrating for our purposes because of the way that the Packers play offense, which tends to be very balanced to run heavy. And Jordan Love, although I think he's a more than capable scrambler, he doesn't really give us a ton of rushing yards. So he can be frustrating in fantasy, but he's been playing excellent football this season. He's number 1 in the NFL in EPA per drop back. He's been very, very efficient. You saw him carve up. We were talking about Dallas and Cincinnati. I mean, Pittsburgh, they might be number 3 in terms of swinging gate defenses. They're so slow and they don't tackle well. And Tucker Kraft is an absolute beast after the catch. I remember thinking before the season, there was all this debate about, which wide receiver, blah, blah, blah. Like the answer was Tucker Kraft.
Yeah.
And he's one of the best tight ends in the league. And, we're seeing that on a pretty regular basis, even in this offense that doesn't always throw the ball a lot. I mean, Tucker Kraft has really been consistent.
Yeah.
And it's hard to find that at tight end.
Well, the best teams right now, the best fantasy teams right now are the ones that went mid-range tight end. Tyler Warren, Dallas Goedert, Tucker Kraft. If you hit through the mid-range there at tight end with those guys, that has been a huge difference maker for you. The other big news from this Packers game was they got Christian Watson back from the ACL tear. He ran 24 routes on 37 Jordan Love dropbacks, was targeted 4 times, caught all 4 for 85 yards, came out of the game healthy. So Romeo Doubs ran the most routes, 32, then Golden, 28, Watson, 24, Malik Heath and Savion Williams barely ran any routes. So it's exciting. Now, the concern is Dontavian Wicks didn't play in this game. When he comes back, he's going to get routes. He's out with a calf injury. And Jaden Reed is expected back maybe week 10, week 11, something like that. So they're going to have 5 wide receivers they can play. And as we have seen before with the Packers, they have no problem playing 5 wide receivers in a game plus Tucker Kraft. So it's exciting that Christian Watson's back, but it's just going to get real crowded there real fast.
Yeah, I mean, is Matthew Golden a drop at this point?
I would probably wait.
I don't see any scenario where you're going to want to play him.
You don't, but like
the rest of the way.
He's probably has more upside than some guys on waivers. But yeah, it would depend who's out there for sure. I get it. The other aspect here, Evan, I don't know if you noticed this, but Emmanuel Wilson played a ton in this game. And Josh Jacobs has been dealing with like a calf issue and illness. So maybe that was part of it. But snaps were only 34-27 in favor of Josh Jacobs over Emmanuel Wilson. So I don't know if you've noticed anything with Josh Jacobs, but I did get a couple questions from people being like, man, why did Emmanuel Wilson play so much there? Any thoughts on the running back spot?
Yeah, I mean, Josh Jacobs has just not performed at the level that he did last year either. And so I think that Emmanuel Wilson is getting an opportunity because of that. And when you see him capitalize, that becomes a concern for Josh Jacobs, who just has not had the efficiency that he ran with last year.
They play home against the Panthers next. This should be a spot they can get off a lot of running back carries. But yeah, I'll be watching the Josh Jacobs practice reports to see if we can pick up anything on how bad this calf injury thing is, if it's lingering. Obviously, Josh Jacobs is an incredible bet to score touchdowns, and that's why he's been so valuable in fantasy. Rams were on a bye. They will come out of it to host the New Orleans Saints. Obviously, really good spot. Sean McVay did confirm that they are expected to have Puka Nacua back here for this game off of his ankle injury. Evan, any Rams thoughts as they come out of their bye?
Nothing big. My note was that the Rams put Tutu Atwell
Yeah.
on injured reserve, but that doesn't really move the needle in any direction, and that Puka Nacua is fully expected back.
Yep. I mean, it's just crazy as we sit here as they come out of their bye. It wasn't like not that long ago. People were trying to tell me that Matthew Stafford had no back. He was going to be in surgery. He wasn't going to ever be able to walk again. Fast forward to their bye week, Matthew Stafford has the highest passer rating of his entire career. So I mean, I know a lot of people are looking at a lot of stuff like preseason injuries, avoid, 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 avoid. It can go the other way where we got great deals on Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Matthew Stafford, and the best ball stuff because everybody was afraid of the back, myself included. I was worried for a while about the back too. So yeah, it goes both ways on the preseason injuries to some degree. Vikings. This was the Thursday game. Vikings went to LA and got smoked by the Chargers. The big story with the Vikings remains the quarterback stuff. So if you watch this game, Carson Wentz was clearly really, really bothered by this left shoulder injury that he's been dealing with. After the game, Carson Wentz lands on season-ending IR, and reports come out that he's been playing through basically no left shoulder for the last, 2-3 weeks or whatever. And so all this soft benching stuff is coming up now because JJ McCarthy seemingly was cleared, but they'd rather play Carson Wentz with no shoulder than JJ McCarthy. And this was a non-throwing shoulder. That's why he was able to play through it. But yeah, regardless, they're going to have to go back to McCarthy now here, Evan, but it's scary. What are your thoughts on Vikings game and then the JJ McCarthy getting back in the saddle here?
Did you see in the Thursday night game against the Chargers, there was a play where a dude went over and went out of bounds, and JJ McCarthy was standing on the sidelines right there and hopped over him and dodged him, and he looked like there was no problems at all with his ankle.
Right. Soft benching.
Right. But now they're coming off the mini bye. Obviously, they're going to go back to McCarthy now with Carson Wentz done for the season. I had a lot of optimism about the Vikings entering the year, and so did you. And that looks really stupid now in hindsight. But I mean, they got to see what they have in JJ McCarthy the rest of the way. I mean, this is a really, really important 8 or 9 games for JJ McCarthy because I mean, if he can't perform better, he had one good quarter in his stint early in the season. I mean, they got to start thinking about going and get another quarterback at the end of the year. I mean, that's crazy to think about for a guy that they traded up the draft with number 10 overall. And then they had Sam Darnold in the palm of their hand and let him go. They could have got Aaron Rodgers as well. And now they're back in, what looks like potential quarterback purgatory again.
I mean, listen, it's been ugly for JJ McCarthy, but he's played 2 NFL games. Two. I don't think that we know yet on JJ McCarthy. So as Evan said, I'm not ready to throw the towel on him.
He's also a guy that because his skill set, I mean, he's a big time athlete. This is one of the reasons that he was a 5-star recruit. He ran with a 4.48 40 or something like that. He has to be 100% with that ankle to be in there.
Yeah.
So and you're right. The jury is definitely still out on JJ McCarthy.
Yeah. I'll say I won't be optimistic on him for this spot against the Lions in week 9.
No. Another issue is that Christian Darrisaw, the Vikings left tackle, who's been, coming off of a major injury, he was lost during the game to against the Chargers, and Brian O'Neill, their stud right tackle, he was inactive for that game due to soreness in both of his knees. So we got offensive line issues as well heading into a game against Detroit, which got back Aleem McNeil in its last game, and obviously has Aiden Hutchinson.
Last note on the Vikings: Aaron Jones returned from his hamstring injury in this game, and he actually outsnapped Jordan Mason 26-17, largely because the Vikings were losing. But good to see Aaron Jones healthy, and I think that kind of split that we saw before Aaron Jones got hurt is going to persist here, where Aaron Jones gets a decent share of the base work, Jordan Mason gets the goal line work, but Aaron Jones gets that really valuable pass down work. Eagles, no A.J. Brown in this game for the Eagles. Also, the offensive line seemingly getting healthier, and the Giants have really struggled to defend the run. So I thought this was a really nice spot for a Saquon Barkley breakout, and that was one of the things that we got right. Gets the 65-yard touchdown run, does Saquon. Goes 14-151 rushing, and catches 4 passes, including a touchdown. And he does all that in 3 quarters. At the end of the third quarter, Saquon's running up the right sideline and kind of pulls up lame. At first, when I saw it, I was like, man, that's a hamstring pull, a groin pull. That looks really bad. For what it's worth, after the game, he says it's no big deal. He'll be fine after this week 9 bye. We shall see. But we did have some more movement at backup running back, which we need to talk about. But yeah, Evan, what do you think of Eagles' easy win over the Giants here?
Yeah, Tank Bigsby comes in, and just the bad dude that he is. I mean, what did Howie Roseman give up to get him?
2.
That was a steal of a trade, man, for 5th and 6th round picks to get Tank Bigsby. I'm totally teasing. I mean, I know that you're right about that. They gave up too much to get a fit. But I mean, Tank Bigsby did come in, and like I think we now we know that he's the handcuff.
Well, if you're going to give up 2 picks, or at least let him be, don't play him behind AJ Dillon. That was really my main point.
Okay. Well, he goes in and he gets 100 yards off the bench.
Yeah.
But I think that the credit really goes to the coaching staff. I mean, we really should give a shout out to Nick Sirianni and Kevin Patullo, because this team has made major adjustments since that mini bye after, I want to say it was between week 6 and 7. And the Eagles are running under center plays at a clip that they have not in many years, and they're that helps the play action passing game, and also they are using 6 offensive linemen, jumbo packages with Fred Johnson as the 6 offensive linemen, sort of replacing a tight end, and their tight ends have really struggled to block this year, and we see them have a breakthrough in the running game after they made those adjustments.
Yeah.
And Saquon looked great, by the way.
Yeah.
Saquon looked great until he got hurt.
Right.
But I think we got to give big credit to a coaching staff that I've criticized, has been criticized. They're doing a great job. And it's been, I think, a little bit maybe of a season-changing moment for the Eagles to be able to make that kind of an adjustment and put probably stuff that you practiced all training camp, thought about all off season, put that to the side, make changes, have those changes be successful. That's good coaching.
I'm curious what you think if Saquon were to miss time. Obviously, Tank Bigsby will be the base back. Do you think Will Shipley cuts in, and how much? Because Will Shipley's role has been pretty disappointing to me. I actually thought that if they were going to reduce the role on Saquon, it was going to be pass downs, get Will Shipley out there. We haven't really seen that, though. Any thoughts on Shipley?
We have not seen that. I think that if Saquon were to miss time, it would be Tank Bigsby in the lead back role and Will Shipley as the sort of passing game back. Maybe think a better version of Kenneth Gainwell.
Yeah.
Maybe. I know that people that have been studying the tape, there are a lot of really good Eagles analysts that study the tape, Fran Duffy, Brian Baldinger, Ross Tucker, and they have talked up Will Shipley as like a big-time pass protector. And so I think that would earn him snaps in the event that Saquon were to miss, and then Tank Bigsby would be the lead back.
Will Shipley has played 35 snaps in 8 games this season. 35 snaps in eight games for Will Shipley. So bye week for the Eagles. After that, I do expect A.J. Brown to be back. They play the Raiders, the Commanders, and the Bills in the fantasy playoffs. So, yeah, hope Saquon's okay. We'll see. Let's go to San Francisco 49ers. Niners went to Houston without Brock Purdy, without Ricky Pearsall, without Fred Warner and a banged-up defense, and just lifeless. I mean, they lose 26-15, and people are going to say, West Coast team going east for a 1 p.m. start or whatever. I guess this was Central Time in Houston, but Christian McCaffrey having a dud is just so rare and weird for him. But the Niners ran 44 plays. They could not get a first down in this game. They end up running 44 plays. So tough one for the 49ers. Evan, what do you think of their performance against Houston?
Yeah, I mean, the Texans have a really, really good defense. You know, we know that. We also know that Jawan Jennings, man, he's been a disappointment this year from start to finish. I mean, not finish, you know, we're halfway through, but he's been a disappointment with, you know, expanded opportunities. The 49ers have been banged up along the offensive line. The Texans were favored in this game. I think a lot of people were like, what? Why are the Texans favored? Does Vegas know something that we don't know? And it's like, no, the 49ers are missing like all their studs on defense. and their defense has played above their head, and they're really banged up on offense. So no, I don't think that this was surprising in hindsight. And now now I think that we know that they could really use Brock Purdy
Yeah.
because he is a guy that Mac Jones can throw the ball. I mean, Mac Jones is a borderline NFL starter, no doubt about it, especially in Kyle Shanahan's offense. But Brock Purdy brings that playmaking ability, that second reaction skills that just brings an extra element to the 49ers offense. And when they're this banged up, they really could use that. Ricky Pearsall suffered a PCL injury. That can be a really dodgy injury for a wide receiver that ends up costing you more time than expected, and that's what's happened. I think that Kyle Shanahan talking on Tuesday or Monday or whatever it was. Yeah, on Monday, he was like, I don't know if Ricky Pearsall is going to be practicing on Wednesday, and that's typically not a good sign. He was also very non-committal on Brock Purdy.
Yeah, we're going on 5 weeks now that Ricky Pearsall has been out and has not practiced. So yeah, long time out for Ricky Pearsall with this knee injury. The other news was this Brandon Ayuk stuff. So finally some like actual news on Brandon Ayuk. They say that the practice window for him could be open as soon as next week. Once your practice window is open, the team has 21 days, of course, to activate you to the active roster. So it's possible, at least, that Ayuk is there down the stretch. And if you have a chance, if he's on waivers, you have an IR spot, you have a deep bench, maybe it's time to start looking at having Brandon Ayuk on your team. Oh, by the way, I've mentioned the Vegas stuff. I just wanted to say, I forgot to say it earlier on the Lamar stuff. If you want more of my take on like all the bill-ups and games are rigged and all this stuff, solo pod, I spent like 15 minutes talking about it on the solo pod this week. You can find that on iTunes under Establish the Run. Seahawks were on a bye. They will play the Commanders on Sunday night. I don't really see why the Seahawks would change anything during their bye. I mean, they're 5-2. They are third in yards per play. Sam Darnold is among the league leaders in completion rate over expectation. Unlike the Jaguars, who we'll get to, I don't really see the Seahawks wanting to change anything. So yeah, Evan, any Seahawks thoughts as they come out of their bye?
I don't, but just to build on that thought, that pertains most specifically to the backfield, which we have seen. Kenneth Walker is technically the lead back, but he is not playing passing situations, and he gets pulled often in scoring position. And that's why you see like Zach Charbonnet having these random one-off 2-touchdown games. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I don't see any reason for Seattle to change anything.
Let's go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bucks beat the Saints easily, but not in the way that you would think. The Bucks won with defense and special teams. It was actually a really bad offensive performance. One of the worst offensive performances I can remember from the Bucks, especially in a dome against the Saints. And, maybe we should have expected that. No Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin, no Bucky Irving. Still skeptical that Egbuka is actually 100%. So bad offensive performance for the Bucks, but man, no team needs to buy more, and they do have a buy here in Week 9. Evan, thoughts on Bucks game in New Orleans?
Have you seen any information on Bucky Irving?
I mean, nothing good, nothing concrete. I mean, his timeline was sometime after the bye, I thought, but yeah, haven't not seen details.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big note that I had was just, and I really haven't seen anything specific either. We do have the bye, as you mentioned, coming up. I mean, Tez Johnson did his job, 5 for 43 on 6 targets. Kate Otten was fine, 4 for 40. But I mean, this is just, the Saints were non-competitive. They pulled their quarterback, and the Bucs just didn't have to do much to win this game.
A painful one for me in this game was this goal line stuff. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw this, but the Bucs had, I think, 5 or 6 plays in this game from the 1-yard line. 3 or 4 of those carries went to Rachaad White, and he was not even close. And this was all in the first half. He was not even close to getting in. In the second half, they gave those goal line carries to Sean Tucker, and he ends up punching it in. So we'll see on Bucky. But yeah, I think, I went into this game thinking Rachaad White would be the goal line back, and he was until he failed on like 3 or 4 of them. Then they went to Sean Tucker, and I think that matters for Rachaad White's profile if Bucky remains out. Yeah, Tez Johnson, 25% of the targets, man. Like, I thought he played a good game, and when all these guys get back, he's not going to get to play as much, but I still think that like for where they took him in the real draft, they have a hit on Ted Johnson. Last NFC team is the Washington football team. Commanders went to Arrowhead on Monday night without Jaden Daniels. Started off the game really well, but then Deebo Samuel just like gives the ball to the Chiefs. They can't convert on a couple fourth downs in the first half, and they end up getting blown out. Evan, what did you think of Commanders game last night in Arrowhead?
Yeah, it was a 7-7 game at halftime.
Yeah.
The big note that there are two big notes that I had. One was Terry McLaurin aggravated the quad injury that has been plaguing him forever. And, maybe this is a lesson in guys that hold out of training camp, although I also think that this could happen to anybody.
Yeah.
But it's just really, really frustrating. A soft tissue injury, a recurring soft tissue injury for a guy who, relies on that, his quad. I mean, he's a guy who runs down the football field, and he can't do that. He's going to be completely ineffective. He did say he's going to be fine, but we'll see because he hasn't been fine for a really long time. And then Laramie Tunsil, the Commander starting left tackle, multiple-time Pro Bowler, left the game with a hamstring injury against Kansas City. Situations to monitor.
It sucks because McLaurin played a really good game before that. He had two really difficult catches, one for a touchdown and one on the other sideline. But yeah, I mean, certainly can blame the holdout. James Cook held out for a long time also, and he's been great and healthy.
Great.
So, but yeah, it's not great on McLaurin. Obviously, am expecting Jaden Daniels back for Sunday night against the Seahawks, but that is not 100%. But I think we're going to start off in projections with Jaden Daniels in, at least as of now. Oh, and on the JCM, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, when you're not a pass catcher and you get behind, you don't have a chance to score touchdowns, you're not efficient. I mean, Jerry McNichols played 23 snaps, JCM played 30, and McNichols was the one who got to play in the pass game. He ends up catching 5 balls for 64 yards. So, JCM's going to have his days. Like, they're going to score touchdowns. JCM's going to score touchdowns. He'll have some big runs at some point, but he's also going to have games like this when they don't play well. Let's go to the AFC now. We'll start with the Buffalo Bills. Bills came out of their bye, recommit to James Cook, and it pays off. James Cook went nuclear here. 216 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns on just 19 carries against the Panthers' run defense, which had performing pretty reasonably. Bills coast to a 40-9 win. I should say, I forgot to mention it during the Panthers segment, Evan, but Derek Brown did get hurt here, and he is known as like the guy that turned around Panthers' rush defense. But still, impressive from James Cook. What do you think of Bills game in Carolina?
Yeah, do we know if he's going to miss any amount of time?
I haven't seen.
Okay, that will be something to track. He matters. Derek Brown matters, and so does James Cook. My goodness gracious, man. I mean, he's been having an amazing season, and this really, really put a highlight on that. For a week where I got a ton wrong, I did build a nice case for a nice game from Khalil Shakir, and he delivered against Carolina. In my matchups column, I got a rare hit in week 8 on Khalil Shakir. Keon Coleman has done nothing outside of literally one quarter in week 1 against the Ravens. Keon Coleman has not taken any kind of sophomore leap. And I would expect, you remember Khalil Shakir, like, it was really easy to kind of give up on him in training camp. He suffered a high ankle sprain late in the process, and he has a history of high ankle sprains. He's good to go. He is the shoe-in bet to lead Buffalo in receiving the rest of the way. Khalil Shakir, I think, can be a legit fantasy asset the rest of the way, and he, probably is cheap to acquire.
I did not think Khalil Shakir was that fast. If you guys saw his touchdown play, I mean, he looked like he was shot out of a cannon, Khalil Shakir, and they are throwing it to him so short. Khalil Shakir's ADOT is 4.5 yards, but his yards per route run is still 1.95 because of that yak ability. So, man, watch that 54-yard touchdown catch if you can. That was awesome. Yeah, James Cook was like one of the biggest hits for us in DFS this week. Simmed really, really well because everyone was playing other running backs, and he came in at like 12% or something like that and was just a total smash. Josh Allen only had to drop back 21 times. Dalton Kincaid came back from injury, was questionable. He got 12 routes on those 21 dropbacks. Dawson Knox 8. Ed Oliver is out indefinitely with a biceps injury. Evan, do you think that matters here ahead of the Super Bowl? Chiefs Bills coming up here in week 9. No Ed Oliver out indefinitely for the Bills.
I do think it matters. I don't know. I'll talk about it in my article.
Yeah. Bengals. Bengals lost a wild game to the Jets. This Bengals defense gave up 39 points to Justin Fields without Garrett Wilson. Just insane. Oh, and by the way, Trey Hendrickson went down in this game with a hip injury. At the
Aggravated
end of the
hip
half.
injury. That's a big deal.
Yeah, he can't get over this hip injury, and he's like their only good defender right now. So yeah, Evan, what do you think of the Bengals loss to the Jets?
What a crazy game. Joe Flacco, got the ball to his guys again. Jamar Chase has 54 targets over his last 3 games. That's when Joe Flacco was inserted. Joe Flacco saved Jamar Chase.
Yeah. And Chase Brown, maybe.
And Chase Brown, maybe. Yeah, absolutely. Chase Brown has a couple of good games in a row. So thank God for Joe Flacco. I was hoping that T. Higgins would step up. And I mean, it's just so clear that Jamar Chase is the clear number one. Last year when T. Higgins and Jamar Chase were on the field together, T. Higgins actually out-targeted him when they were both on the field together. And this year, it has just been an avalanche in the direction of Jamar Chase. I still think that T. Higgins is like a fantasy viable guy. He did score a 44-yard touchdown here, but Jamar Chase is the going away alpha.
I'm not even sure this is the best way to play. I mean, I love Jamar Chase, and I have a bunch of Jamar Chase, and like anytime I had the number 1 pick, I took Jamar Chase. Like I love it. However, I'm not sure this is the best way to play. 19 targets for Jamar Chase and 2 for T. Higgins. I don't think that's the best way to try to win games. Now, they did score 38 points. It was against the Jets, but I'm not going to say anything too bad. But the point remains on Joe Flacco. All coaches do is drop back Joe Flacco. Since joining Cincinnati, he's dropped back 46, 49, and 36 times. Every stop he goes, he drops back like 40 times a game. It's insane. And so, yeah, I mean, these guys are going to keep performing. Now, this was an awesome matchup. Jets did not have Sauce Gardner, but yeah. Chase Brown. He just continues to lose more work than I want him to Samaje Perine. We've talked about that plenty, but Perine is not just taking exclusive pass down work from Chase Brown now. He's also taking some base work as well, which is not great. But yeah, I mean, efficiency on Chase Brown is so much better with Joe Flacco. He had a 100-yard rushing game in week 7, and in this game, averages 6.1 yards per carry.
And it's nice to see him showing that he's not like some bum that people made him out to be when he was struggling, when the offense was just completely incompetent, behind bad offensive line play with a quarterback that couldn't move the ball whatsoever. Yeah. Now they get a quarterback who can at least be competent, and all of a sudden, everyone's rising up. They get the Bears next. And the Bears, I mean, their defense isn't very good. They're injured. They just lost another guy up front, Shamar Turner, who was playing a key role for them. So another good matchup on deck for the Flying Flaccos.
Let's go to the Browns. Browns went to New England. They hung in the first half thanks to their defense, but end up getting rolled 32-13. Big story was Quinshon Judkins. Judkins was already struggling in this game. Talked about the rest of the season top 150 show last week about Judkins as a sell, just because when you play for a really bad team and you're not really a pass catcher and you need touchdowns and your team's going to be getting trucked in a lot of spots, it's tough. And then he hurts his shoulder here. They're calling an AC sprain. So not the best vibes for Judkins right now. Evan, what do you think of Brown's game in New England?
Yeah, they do have a bye coming up. And then they've got the Jets on the other side, and AC joints are injuries that we've seen players play through. Mm-hmm. But I hear you on all those concerns, the game script concerns for Quinshon Judkins.
Yeah, playing the Jets, there shouldn't be game script concerns. So,
right.
Yeah, hopefully he'll be able to play in that game.
Yeah.
Dylan Sampson, though, I still think he can play as a pass catcher. And like 5 more catches here. When they get behind big, and the Browns will, throwing the ball short, which is what Dylan Gabriel is insisting on doing. That's pretty good for Dylan Sampson. David Njoku did return here. Fannin ran more routes. It was 31-26 in favor of Fannin on routes. Fannin may have been banged up. I saw some people talking about that. That's something to watch. They're going on bye, though. After the bye, they already said Cedric Tillman is expected back. So get one of their starting wide receivers back there.
Harold Fannin was not hurt. It's just he runs like a duck. Um, no, I'm kidding. Harold Finn has had an awesome rookie season, all things considered.
Definitely.
I'll be very. I mean, this trade deadline's coming up, man. We're doing this on Tuesday, October 28th. That is
Yeah.
what we're exactly 7 days away.
Yeah.
And David Njoku is like one of the hottest names on the trade market. It makes all the sense in the world for the Browns to trade him, especially after the emergence of Harold Fannin. I also wonder if the Browns might at some point go to Shedeur Sanders. Not that I think that Shedeur Sanders is the answer, but just because Dylan Gabriel hasn't really looked like the
Yeah.
answer to this point.
I would have no problem. Let's get a look at Shedeur Sanders. Why not? Yeah, on the trade deadline. So I believe it's 4 p.m. Eastern. We'll probably delay this show next week to try to get as much of the trade news in as we can. So look for a little bit later release time on this show next week ahead of the trade deadline on Tuesday.
You remember how there were a ton of trade rumors leading into the draft this year and like no trades happened? I think that we could see a windfall of trades, many potentially being the same names as the guys that were rumored around the draft to be on the trade block. A bunch of those guys. I think that there's a chance there are a bunch of trades this year. It seems like every year in recent years there have been more and more, and I think that we could see a lot. I hope so. It's kind of fun action.
For sure. Texans did make a trade as we go to the Texans here. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I'm sorry, not Texans. I was thinking of the Titans made a trade. Texans got a solid win at home over the 49ers. This was one of the better games I can recall CJ Stroud playing over the last couple of years, and it came without Nico Collins and without Christian Kirk. I mean, Stroud was shredding 30 of 39, 318 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. It was with Jaden Higgins and Xavier Hutchinson in 2 wide receiver sets, and then Braxton Berrios and Jalen Knoll sharing the slot in 3 wide receiver sets. So good to see Stroud get it going. What do you think of Texans win over the 49ers?
Yeah, and again, like CJ Stroud has really had 2 good games this year, and they both been with one was against the Ravens when they were missing like 9 of their 11 starters on defense, and the 49ers, of course, were missing Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, and Bryce Huff. But as you mentioned, I mean, there was no Nico Collins, and he should be back this week, coming off the concussion. Although they got to play Denver. But I think that Jalen Knoll has shown enough that when Christian Kirk comes back, like they should just give the reins to Jalen Knoll. He's been hyper efficient. And again, as you mentioned, not even being a full-time player in that slot, so far there's every reason to believe that he's the future. Jalen Knoll is the future at slot receiver for the Texans as that number 2 inside guy with Nico as the alpha on the perimeter.
Just insanely stubborn to keep playing Braxton Berrios. So like when Christian Kirk comes back, I think it should be Knoll over both those guys, but I'm not convinced that the Texans coaches agree. So yeah, like who would you rather have rest of season? Like Christian Watson or Jalen Knoll? Like, because there's going to be a bunch of these like late season young wide receiver types coming on. Any thoughts on that one, Knoll or Christian Watson rest of season?
Wow, that's interesting. I mean, Christian Watson has shown spiked week capability.
Yeah.
On several occasions, and he's very frustrating. He plays in that massive receiver rotation.
Yeah.
And Jalen Knoll right now is a rotational receiver. I think I would lean toward Christian Watson, but I think that it's interesting. I mean, Jalen Knoll runs away with it if he can render Braxton Berrios irrelevant, which he should. But, we're seeing this in Houston at the running back position as well, with them continuing to give carries to Nick Chubb, carries that really don't go anywhere. Whereas Woody Marks has been pretty good. I mean, he certainly outplayed Nick Chubb this past week, and I think he has for the majority of when he's gotten opportunities, Woody Marks.
Yeah, I thought Woody Marks played a really good game as well. Had a 50-yard catch and also ran it 11 times for 62 yards. So yeah, I know people keep asking about Joe Mixon. Texans basically said they have no update on Joe Mixon. And as we've been talking about since June, like what we've heard on Joe Mixon is not good. Thought he'd be out for the season. And at this point, looks like he's going to be out for this season. Colts. I mean, it was an all-time spot for Jonathan Taylor, right? Like he has this absurd role. The Colts offensive line is dominating. They're facing the Titans at home without Jeffrey Simmons. Taylor only needs 12 carries and 2 targets to rack up 174 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor is fantasy's most valuable player by a mile at this point. He now has 14 touchdowns in 8 games. He's also like minus 250 or something crazy to be the offensive player of the year at this point, an award that Puka Nacua, before his injury, was actually the favorite for. So, man, I mean, I know you're not going to get spots like this very often, but JT continues to be the guy that you have to have every week in DFS and every week in fantasy. Evan, what do you think of Colts manhandling of the Titans?
Yeah, and in a week where we had a debate at the top of the running back heap entering week 8, Bijan Robinson, and I was pretty firm on Bijan Robinson. I thought he was the best play. Christian McCaffrey always has. He deserves, to be in that discussion. And Jonathan Taylor just absolutely ran away with it. The Colts continue to play like the best offense of like this generation, and they got the Steelers next. So the Colts are going to continue to cook, man. I mean, what an awesome story. Shane Steichen continues to be on his way to Coach of the Year.
Agreed. Josh Downs was back for this game, but Michael Pittman still had a really, really, really good game. And I thought that was encouraging for Pittman, 895-1 on 9 targets, including a sick touchdown catch. Routes were Pittman 29, Downs 23. Of course, Alec Pierce is also out there a ton. It's a bit tough for me week to week, like Pittman versus Downs, but I know Evans talked about just Pittman just has the better role and is, I don't know who's the better player, but it's close every week. And I guess my point is I want to lean Pittman more often. But when either one of these guys are out, like I want to play the other guy if it happens going forward. Let's go to Jaguars. So Jaguars were on a bye. They will face the Raiders on Sunday. This is the team that is the candidate to make real changes during their bye week. They lost 2 straight before the bye, including just getting buried by the Rams in London in week 7. The changes that they can make, first on Travis Hunter. So Liam Cohen was asked about, will they update the plan for Travis Hunter usage after the bye? And he said, we are going to play the best 11 on each side of the ball as much as humanly possible. Michael DeRocco, Jaguars reporter, he says, reading between the lines, it looks like Hunter is going to be a significant player in the offense going forward. Don't be surprised if Hunter starts getting wide receiver 1 treatment from the Jags. Maybe that shouldn't be so surprising considering Hunter ran almost 90% of the routes in the 2 games before the bye, and BTJ has been underperforming so badly. So, Evan, thoughts on that Travis Hunter quote and anything else on Jags as they come out of their bye?
Yeah, all that stuff, plus Brian Thomas Jr. has been the subject of trade rumors.
Yeah, I don't buy that, man. You buy that?
I mean, he was inherited by this regime. And I mean, they have gone out of their way. I mean, his targets are not a problem, and he just has not delivered whatsoever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I'll say that. I mean, especially if they want to get Travis Hunter featured. Brian Thomas has just been so bad, man.
So bad.
I was super high on him entering the season. I thought that he maybe had a chance to emerge as one of the best receivers in the league. And he's been one of the worst receivers in the league to this point, despite immense opportunity. Now they have the bye to reassess things. I don't know. I mean, could they get a 2nd-round pick for him?
Yeah.
I see. What if they're offered a 2nd-round pick for him?
I wouldn't do it. I do not trade 23-year-old wide receivers who caught 87 balls for 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns as a stone cold rookie. That's not the business that I'm in. So
another situation I'll be monitoring. Brenton Strange has been on IR.
Yeah.
See if he's coming back. I mean, he was a decent little fantasy option before he went down.
And De'Ami Brown was banged up too. Hopefully he's back here this week as well. The other thing that they could change is the split between Travis Etienne and Bashal Tutin. They had some tough matchups, so I don't want to kill Travis Etienne, but he has not been very efficient. And so now people are like, oh, look what they did with Bucky Irving. Look what this staff did with Bucky Irving after the Bucks bye last year. They're going to do it with Bashal Tutin. I don't know about that, but it's at least in the range of outcomes. Any thoughts on Etienne versus Tutin as the Jags come out of their bye?
My thoughts are identical to yours. So I don't want to repeat what you just said, and people will accuse me of ignoring. I agree with you, Adam. I agree.
Perfect. Let's go to the Chiefs. So breaking news into the show while we were recording here, and this came out of nowhere. I honestly, I didn't see this happen last night or see anything about it, but let me just make sure I pull this up here so that I get it exactly right. Isaiah Pacheco apparently got hurt last night, and Isaiah Pacheco, the report is
MCL sprain week to week.
MCL sprain week to week. That is not good for Isaiah Pacheco. Now, the backup in base, in theory, is Kareem Hunt, but they've used him almost exclusively as a short yardage pounder type. They have Brashard Smith, who they have used mostly in the Jerick McKinnon kind of pass catching role. They do have Eli Mitchell on the roster here as well. So I know this is just happening, Evan. I haven't had a chance to think about it yet, but any initial reaction to this Isaiah Pacheco week-to-week situation?
I think people will want to say that it could help Brashard Smith just because we know that Kareem Hunt is dust. But Brashard Smith has not been used, like his role is totally different than Isaiah Pacheco's. I mean, Brashard Smith has been like used as a wide receiver, essentially, and not just like a guy that they throw the ball, to like in the flats he's been used as a wide receiver. So I'm not sure that this translates to more for Brashard Smith. He'll get a little bit more, but I don't know that it'll translate to the point where Brashard Smith becomes fantasy relevant. I think that that's TBD. I think that it actually may help Kareem Hunt more.
Yeah.
And that's not fun. It's just a totally touchdown dependent sort of guy.
And I think they'll get Eli Mitchell active here as well here and kind of take some of that.
They could just insert Elijah Mitchell right into that Isaiah Pacheco role.
Yeah, that's not impossible. I mean, I have seen them like grow Brashard Smith's role a little bit. They did not do it last night though. Brashard Smith barely played when this game was close, and getting to the game last night, Chiefs started off slow, but Mahomes ends up cooking again. Story remains the return of Rashee Rice. I mean, my God, remember that first game he came back in week 7 last week? He only ran 19 routes and saw 10 targets, caught 7 balls and 2 touchdowns. In week 8, back to the normal role, 34 routes on 41 dropbacks. Could have had more touchdowns, came up an inch short on one play. They also handed it to him like from the 7-yard line. He almost got in there. Ends up 993-1. So, I mean, Rashee Rice, as we've talked about since like week 1 or week 2, like do what you can to get him. I'm sure we're going to have him in the top 12 in rest of season top 150. I believe we had him 13th last week in rest of season top 150. I mean, Rashee Rice is a first-round pick.
Yeah, the race car Rashee Rice. I mean, nothing is stopping him at this point. I think he's a top 5 fantasy receiver, ROS for sure.
For sure. I was wrong about the Travis Kelce stuff, man, at least last night, because I thought Rashee Rice's return would really limit those catches that Travis Kelce gets over the middle. He was working the zone like deep corners and stuff last night was Travis Kelce. And other than that one drop that went for an interception, played a really good game. Raiders were on a bye. They will come out of it to host the Jaguars. Story here is the November 4 trade deadline. Jacoby Myers continues to be the center of trade rumors. Even he's talking about it. Like they asked him, they were like, what? Somebody asked him, like, do you still want to be traded? And he was like, yeah, of course. What are you talking about? I was like, yeah. So Jacoby Myers wants out for sure. And the rumor is the Raiders want a day 2 pick for Jacoby Myers. I don't know that they'll get that for a player in his contract situation. But yeah, Evan, any thoughts on Jacoby or any other Raiders thoughts as they come out of their bye?
I mean, I think that, as I said on our last show, I think that the Raiders should trade everyone because the Raiders are I think that Chip Kelly and Pete Carroll are going to be one and done. And there's just no reason literally to keep anybody. I mean, they should try to get whatever they can for Max Crosby. They just signed Tyler Lockett.
Right.
And he kind of plays he's a different style of slot receiver to Jacoby Myers. But, I mean, he's a guy who can play in the slot. So, and obviously he has the familiarity with Pete Carroll and with Geno Smith. I think that Jacoby Myers is probably at the top of the list of likeliest players to be traded in the NFL.
Yeah.
Him and David Njoku.
And Shaheed, maybe. Good news, hopefully, Brock Bowers should be back. And that could make a huge difference for this team. But we don't have practice reports for them yet. Hopefully, Brock Bowers will be back. Last thing on the Raiders.
You should trade him too.
Last thing on the Raiders. Remember the schedule for the Raiders. Still have to play the Broncos twice. Still have to play the Browns. They have to play at Philly and at Houston in weeks 15 and 16. So It's going to be tough for the Raiders. I mean, real tough. Chargers. This was the Thursday night game. Chargers torched the Vikings. Two important stories for me here on the Chargers. First, Oronde Gadsden at it again. Only 5 targets in this game, but caught all 5 for 77 yards and a touchdown. More on that in a second. And then the other big story, Amari Hampton spotted at this game, still in a walking boot. And Kamani Vidal goes off for 127 yards. I saw some Twitter doc speculation that Hampton now might not be back until like week 13.
Yep.
I mean, God, man. So thoughts on Chargers game and any other?
And how about Kamani Vidal?
Yeah.
I mean, he is balling out, man. He's balling out. And now the Chargers have the Titans, who, may be without Jeffrey Simmons again. So, I mean, it's setting up really, really nice for Kamani Vidal to be a legit RB1 for the foreseeable future. He's produced like that through 3 auditions. Joe Alt is such a huge difference maker. Per Next Gen Stats, with Joe Alt, the Chargers left tackle on the field this season, Justin Herbert has averaged 8 yards per pass attempt, 107 passer rating without him. Without Joe Alt, Justin Herbert, 6.7 yards per pass attempt, 88 passer rating. Huge, huge difference maker is Joe Alt.
Shout out Notre Dame.
My other note was on Omari and Hampton. My other note was on Quentin Johnston. His role has changed. He is now he's doing the clear out stuff now, and that's really going to hurt because he was a featured receiver early in the season, and now Oronde Gadsden has emerged as a feature receiver, and Ladd McConkey is being featured as it should be.
Right.
But I mean, I guess it was maybe only a matter of time. But you can't rely on Quentin Johnston when he's doing clear out stuff.
Right. Yeah. And this was kind of the take that we had before the season, right? And I did get some Quentin Johnston because he was going so late, like 15th, 16th round. But I certainly didn't like him because I thought that this was going to be the most likely role for him, the role that he's playing right now. This Gadsden stuff, as we talked about last week, we put out a clip of us talking about Gadsden last week, and we were super positive. People are like, yeah, but they have 3 wide receivers. He's just a flash in the pan. Man, 32 routes on 34 Herbert dropbacks here. Tyler Conklin ran 0. Will Dissly was a healthy scratch. I mean,
they've parted the seas for Oronde Gadsden. He's not going away. He's a huge part of their offense, and they have one of the most prolific passing offenses in the league. I haven't looked at the updated rankings for pass attempts, but Justin Herbert going into week 8 was leading the NFL in pass attempts.
By the way, for anyone who remembers the Kenny Golladay picture with the young female that went viral, and I tweeted out a bunch maybe 5 or 6 years ago, there's another similar picture going around of Keenan Allen with Justin Herbert and Madison Beer in a similar pose as Kenny Golladay there. So be sure to find that. Shout out to Justin Herbert.
I did see that one.
Crushing. By the way, Justin Herbert's running in this game, he looks so healthy running now, and he can really run, kind of on the Bo Nix kind of wavelength of running. But yeah. Dolphins. So Dolphins looked dead in Cleveland week 7. That was outside, bad weather. In week 8, Dolphins go to the Dome in Atlanta as a big underdog, and they show up massive. 34-10 win for the Dolphins over the Falcons. Tua Tagovailoa, 20 of 26, 4 touchdown passes in this game. So a lot of people, including myself, were worried that the Dolphins were just dead. They get the Dome game. Tua performs well. Evan, thoughts on how sticky this could be for the Dolphins going forward?
Yeah, I mean, this is, one of those humbling NFL results that reminds you that, some stuff, and you don't know as much as you think you do. And I mean, I crushed the Dolphins every which way in my write-up for this game, and the Falcons have been playing really good defense, and none of that translated to, a correct prediction of the final result. Jalen Waddle balled out.
Mm-hmm.
Tua, this was maybe his best game of the year. Devon Achane, there are only 3 running backs in the NFL who have 400-plus rushing yards and 200-plus receiving yards: Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, Devon Achane. So that puts him in obviously elite company. But yeah, I did not see this coming. I'm not even a little bit.
So we talked before the game that the Dolphins were talking about taking some work off of Achane. In the first half, Achane still got 13 opportunities, which is a lot. But they did give Ollie Gordon 8 and 2 for Jalen Wright, who they talked up a little bit before the game. So I don't think it's really like a big concern. They had so many running back opportunities in this game, but they are at least using other backs, which is at least worth noting. And I do think Ollie Gordon, like if they got the ball at the 1 and there was a timeout, they'd probably go to Ollie Gordon there for goal line work. But they won this game. So my brother, Mike McDaniel, my identical twin, buys more time. Every time they win a game, I'm like, good. Buy Mike McDaniel more time. Good. Let's go to Patriots. Patriots continue to cook, man. Won their 5th straight game by beating the Browns 32-13. It was not a pretty start. It looked like the Browns defense was really going to give Drake May problems. But in the second half, May went nuts again. Turns 24 pass attempts into 282 yards and 3 touchdowns. Also ran for 50 yards. Evan, what do you think of Patriots' performance against the Browns?
Yeah, Drake May, he continues to put himself on the MVP track. The Patriots are in first place in the AFC East. And, he has shown himself to be matchup proof. The Browns have been one of the best defenses in the NFL this year. He's still got Myles Garrett sacked him 5 times.
It's not good for the Benito stuff.
Oh, no. That's bad for the Benito stuff. Drake May threw an early pick in this game and then rallied back after that. I love to see that resilience. He's just completely unfazed. He's getting pummeled by Myles Garrett, throwing bad picks, still balling out. He's the number 1 overall quarterback in fantasy football. I actually went back and I looked at my mentions and I found the guy that was talking smack to me about when I said Drake May, 80-1 to win MVP. I found him and I screenshotted it, just in case Drake May does win MVP. But yeah, he's been unbelievable. You go back to that draft last year and Drake May should have been the number 1 overall pick if we're using hindsight over Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. Drake May is the best quarterback of that group right now.
Well, and not only is he so valuable in real life, but in fantasy also. Drake May is fantasy's number 4 quarterback. The only quarterbacks that are better than Drake May in fantasy this season, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson when he's been out there, and Josh Allen. So, Drake May is having an incredible season. Stacking him has been really tough. And I haven't had enough Drake May in DFS because I don't really know who to stack him with. Booty shows up sometimes. Diggs shows up sometimes. Henry shows up sometimes. So it can be frustrating, but I want to put it on myself to play Drake May.
It's wild what he's doing with that cast of characters.
Yeah.
And we know that the offensive line has plenty of deficiencies. It's like he is elevating his teammates at a truly, truly elite level. Drake May has been unbelievable, man. Unbelievable.
Last Patriots note, your weekly Travion Henderson update. He only played 14 snaps in this game. Ramondre Stevenson played 50. Terrell Jennings 5. Travion did show some explosion finally, though, rushing. 10 carries, 75 yards rushing. Did lose a fumble, but at least it's good to see him looking explosive, at least in the run game, but not much of a role change. Steelers. This was the Sunday night game. Steelers lose the Aaron Rodgers Bowl 35-25. It's just tough on the Steelers when the defense is performing so poorly and you really only have one weapon on offense in DK Metcalf. So it's tough on the Steelers right now. Evan, what do you think of their performance against the Packers?
Yeah, it was another game where Jaylen Warren was pretty comfortably ahead of Kenneth Gainwell, although Kenneth Gainwell did not play badly with his opportunities. Yeah, the Steelers, they've given up almost 1,000 yards on defense over their last 2 games, and they know they need another weapon, and that's why you hear them at the heartbeat of every rumor when it comes to an available wide receiver. They did sign MVS, Marcus Valdes-Scantling, today, but they're going to aim higher than that. Leading into the trade deadline, I don't know, with their defense in the situation that it is, they're going to be involved in some shootouts.
Yeah. The thing about the trade deadline with them, they think they're a contender. They're not a contender, man.
No, we know that, but
they don't know that, right?
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, they'll be in the mix, I'm sure, for Jacoby Myers and Rashid Shaheed. It's funny that they're going after MVS or got MVS or whatever. It's just Aaron Rodgers just wants to hang with his boys, Lazard MVS, let's get the whole band back together. Yeah, I thought Jalen Warren played a really good game. Snaps were 39-25, Warren ahead of Gainwell, and Caleb Johnson 0. Titans. Titans lose again, 38-14 to the Colts. We knew they had no chance to stop the Colts. We knew that going in. But maybe a bright spot in this game for the Titans was Chimere Dike, 793-0 on 8 targets. Remember, they let Tyler Lockett go. Calvin Ridley's hurt. Let's get a look at DK and Io Manor and see how they can do. Those guys ran 39 routes and 42 routes, respectively, on 43 Cam Ward dropbacks. So good to see those young receivers out there. Get a look at them. Evan, what do you think of Titans' predictable loss to the Colts?
Yeah, Chimere Dike is pretty interesting. And I know that the YouTube commenters, they won't want to hear this, but Chimere Dike in college, pretty good in the return game. And also he plays in the slot. I mean, he had some comparisons to Tyler Lockett, who used to be a Titan.
Yeah.
He had some comparisons that Chimere Dike did to Tyler Lockett coming out of college. But yeah, I mean, I think that Chimere Dike, I mean, he might be the favorite to lead the Titans in receiving the rest of the way at this point. The snaps in this game were almost exactly 50-50 between Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears. And I actually think that the arrow is starting to point toward Tajay Spears, especially from the way that Mike McCoy has been talking about it. I think that Tajay Spears might start to create some separation between him. I don't even know if that means that Tajay Spears is going to become useful. We saw how little that Tony Pollard was able to do early it's just a disaster situation in Tennessee. But yeah, I think that the arrow things are starting to teeter in Tajay Spears' favor.
Yeah, agreed. I don't know if you think this trade matters at all. I doubt that it does, but Titans traded cornerback Roger McCreary to the Rams for basically nothing, which seemed like a weird move to me. But yeah, any thoughts on that one, if it matters at all?
They're just bailing. The Titans are just bailing. They lost another starting cornerback, L'Jarius Sneed, early, a couple weeks ago. I think he went on IR. So they know it's over. I mean, Mike McCoy is not going to be the Titans head coach next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they traded another cornerback, Jarvis Brownlee.
Yeah. So clearly one of the best defenses to attack in the entire NFL with fantasy players. All right. That's going to do it for another edition of the Team by Team show. Appreciate everyone hanging out and listening. Be sure you have hit subscribe on YouTube. It is totally free. Helps us continue to bring you guys free shows like this through the season. For Evan, producer Ryan, producer Luke, for everyone behind the scenes at ETR, I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.